Welcome into a new week and a new episode of the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weiner, alongside FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray. And if you told me a week ago Monday's episode would be about Jasson Dominguez's UCL tear and have an interview with Jose Altuve, courtesy of Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea, I don't know what I'd tell you. But Robert, that is the world we're living in. Welcome to the show. Go Birds. Hopefully happier days are around the corner.
Yeah, well, very happy Victory Monday for the Eagles. I am sorry about your Giants, by the way. That was
why? What happened?
That was brutal. I resisted the urge to text you during that game, but I'll tell you, it was a great weekend. A lot of stuff happening in baseball. Not great that Jasson Dominguez has a torn UCL, but good news is he'll be back at the start of next year, like shortly thereafter. But other than that, man, I'm great. How are you? Good to be here with you.
Good to be here with you as well. Yeah, I would just say yesterday is sort of an all-time kick in the pants, but we'll get over it. We always will. We always do. I'm not sure if what the New York Giants did was technically football, so I'm not sure if their football season has even started yet. But I guess we'll see what happens next week when they face the Arizona Cardinals. On today's show, we are going to be talking about the trade deadline a month plus in the rear view, trying to figure out if any of these trades actually helped the teams that made them. It's worth wondering, and that's sort of what inspired my look back. Perhaps most importantly, though, we are going to be talking to Jose Altuve, mega face of baseball type superstar, all-star, and the kind of player who is probably ticketed for the Hall of Fame someday, it would seem, courtesy of Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea. We'll get into all that in the middle of the show. I'll toss it to Jose, plus obviously the Jasson Dominguez injury, Brian Cashman showing up overseas to woo a Japanese free agent, very confusing and interesting, and the minute possibility of a Mike Trout trade. All that and more sponsored today by Bet365. We have an awesome sports betting promo for new users on the platform. All you have to do is deposit $10, place a wager of $1 or more on any sport. You will instantly receive $200 added to your account in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. All you have to do is use the code BASEBALLIN at signup right there on the screen. By using that code BASEBALLIN, you not only receive the $200 in bonuses, you will also be directly supporting the podcast and being the fuel for great things like Jose Altuve dropping by in the middle of a random Monday episode. So if you have not signed up for Bet365, join with the code BASEBALLIN and place that first bet. This offer is available for new customers who are 21 plus, physically present in most legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. And again, if you want to get in early, if you want to be able to ask us questions between shows, if you've got questions for Jose Altuve and the future guests of this show, the best way to do that early is by getting in on the Baseball Insiders Discord. Robert will continue to provide you the link. All you have to do is become a YouTube member, follow the steps, just 99 cents a month, and you get early access to questions for us, and you get to start the conversation first. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's have some fun.
Actually, I like to even further plug the Discord because we got to plug it. It was a couple weeks ago. I had caught wind that a Pete Crow Armstrong call up was extremely likely, and I teased it in the Discord. And that is something that I can further provide, or that I can do more of in the future. And if you guys do that, then you'll have every opportunity to know before the entire world does.
Yeah, Pete Crow Armstrong we had in the rice cooker. Kyle Harrison we were waiting on for a while, and the people in the Discord got that one first as well. Of course, it all translates to the show. We love the show. The live show is electric, but if you're in the Discord, you get to have the live show at your fingertips Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, and Thursday after the show. Never stops. So we really do hope that you join us there. And this year we had a long discussion, months long, heading up to the trade deadline. So many of these episodes were about the trade deadline. We were prognosticating, we were sending players to various destinations. And in mid-September, I'm not sure if any of those players who actually got traded are helping their new teams all that much. This exercise of trying to decide the trade deadline additions who've made the biggest difference in 2023, it mostly feels like players who've made a negative difference. I tried to pull up the carpet a little bit and go below the surface, but outside of Justin Verlander, who is an obvious, the Astros were probably a contender beforehand. Now they've got Justin Verlander. And is there anybody else that springs to mind who you're like, that also was a really positive move?
Yeah, I'll tell you, like the one that kind of was like an afterthought trade because it was a salary dump by the Guardians, kind of was Josh Bell, and he was really bad in Cleveland. And as soon as he ended up getting traded to Miami, like he started performing really well. And it was weird because he's always been known as more of a first half guy rather than a second half because he'd tail off in the second half. But it's basically been like the reverse. And now you got to actually like have a conversation about like what are the Marlins going to do next year when they have to, or is it a player option? I don't know what necessarily what the option is, but like it's he's positioning himself either to have that option picked up, or he's positioning himself for possibly like a multi-year deal in free agency. And I don't know necessarily what's going to happen, but the fact that he is in the conversation for one of the more impactful additions at the trade deadline was not something I foresaw at all. And the talk of the trade deadline was Lucas Giolito, Jack Flaherty, like players like that. Giolito is already on his second team since the trade deadline, and his ERA in Anaheim was hovering around 7. In Cleveland, it's over 10. And then Flaherty, he's got a 7.16 ERA in Baltimore, and that is just further enhancing the conversation that the Orioles should have done more at the deadline rather than just do or add one starting pitcher than one reliever. In the moment, I thought they should have done more, and now a month removed from it, it's become increasingly evident that they needed to do more.
Flaherty had a tough time at Fenway Park again this weekend in a game the Orioles ultimately won, but very little thanks to Flaherty. And that sort of did inspire me to have this thought process like, Flaherty, if he's not the worst, it's only because of Giolito. There were certainly a number of players who changed hands who were supposed to impact this pennant race who absolutely haven't. Max Scherzer's surface numbers in Texas have been just fine. You take them if you're reading the Baseball Reference page alone, but he has wilted as the team has tripped downward off a cliff. They are still out of the playoff picture. They were stunningly out of the playoff picture last week when we convened, and it's only gotten, they beat the A's a few times, but they're still not in the field. And he had his worst start of his Rangers career against the Astros the other day in a game they absolutely needed. When I'm trying to find players whose fits have actually worked, it's very limited. It's Bell, like you said, who does have a player option for next year. You wonder if he'll accept or decline that. Tommy Pham, who's hitting in the 240s with a representative solid OPS. He's come up clutch a number of times for the Diamondbacks as Arizona has nabbed that final playoff spot for now. So I'd say he hasn't been exceptional, but it's worked. Jake Berger has been excellent, but most of us aren't. Yeah, a lot of us aren't paying attention to the Marlins. Maybe still should be. 35 games in Miami, 295 average, 849 OPS, 43 points higher than it was in Chicago, up to a 129 OPS plus in the small sample size. But outside of those guys, kind of a dud. And so I asked us to think about the winners, and like you pointed out, it's mostly the GMs who got rid of assets, not the ones who took them on.
Yeah, it has been the teams that have sold at the deadline, and like you kind of could foresee that coming because it was a seller's market, and the teams that were going to sell these guys were going to end up getting a haul in return just because of the limited options on the market. But like, if you look at a team that did really well at the deadline, I think the Chicago White Sox deserve a lot of credit because they traded Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez to the Angels and got two of their top prospects. And they basically got those prospects who were controllable for years to come for what was essentially like 3 weeks of Giolito and Lopez, which is still to me absolutely mind-boggling. I can't believe the Angels are in that kind of position. I mean, I can because it just everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. But that was a really strong deadline, and especially that trade for the White Sox. And then if you look at a team like the Mets, they were in a similar situation, and Steve Cohen has the money that most of these, well, he's got more money than any of these owners, and he flexed it at the deadline by eating a lot of these big contracts in order to maximize the return. And the Verlander trade, they were able to get a good haul there. Scherzer as well. It was really important to the Mets that they restock their farm system, and especially their pitching, their young pitching, because they want to build from within and make this sustainable. And they achieve that. And I mean, especially with Scherzer, like the results. I mean, he's performed well, but like that start against the Astros was a big reason why the Rangers got him, and he did not live up to it in that moment.
That's a sweep that you have to avert. And Max Scherzer's walking into that game going, don't worry, guys. I've been here before. It's all on my shoulders. And could not have gone worse. He's under the gun. The game's already over like a couple of batters into the ball game.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry. I think you cut out there for a second.
I was just bloviating about Max Scherzer not being very good. But
no, and you're spot on with that. And like in Canyon Swartz, Pirates, they did. I mean, they didn't do much. I mean, they obviously sold Rich Hill and G-Man Choi. It was funny. It was after that trade was made. I had somebody who was pretty well connected with things that are going on in Pittsburgh, and they said that G-Man Choi had never been better in his career in terms of just his mechanics and his overall just feel. And they predicted a breakout when he went to San Diego. Obviously, that has not worked out. Rich Hill is also struggled there in what has been an extremely disappointing season in San Diego. But that being said, I think the Pirates, for what they ended up trying to sell at the deadline, they did relatively well. And they ended up landing a few prospects in that deal that could end up becoming valuable pieces in the not so distant future.
Before we welcome a special guest in here, I think since we're talking about the Angels disaster, and I don't think this is going to be as long a conversation as some people may have thought, it's probably worth touching on now. You said earlier everything that's gone wrong or that could go wrong has gone wrong, and that led to the natural endpoint this weekend of Bob Nightingale saying the Angels have basically said, if Mike Trout requests a trade, we will explore the possibilities. He's under contract for a ton of money. That does put the onus on him. Still sort of feels like a lot of things would have to lock up in step for that to become a possibility. But I just wanted to ask you point blank, how are you feeling taking the temperature of the room on an offseason Mike Trout trade as of September 11th, Monday, on this beautiful day?
I asked about this like right after that report was published, and the feeling that I got was that a trade involving Mike Trout ranged from anywhere from unlikely to highly, highly unlikely. And trading Trout's salary is going to end up being an issue. There's not many teams that can take on that kind of a salary. And obviously he's got a no trade clause, so he'd have to approve that as well. Like the obvious fit would be Philadelphia because he's born in that area, obviously a huge Eagles fan. And is super connected in Philly, but I don't know if the Phillies have the payroll flexibility to end up doing something like that. But I think it just, and the other part of this too is that Artie Moreno was never there was never a real shot he was going to be the owner who moved Shohei Ohtani. Is there a real shot that he moves a guy like Mike Trout? I don't think so. Trout's a really loyal guy, so I have a hard time seeing him demanding a trade unless ownership tells him that it's going to be a multi-year rebuild. And everything we've seen from Artie Moreno in the past suggests that's not going to happen because he wants to compete. He does not rebuild. He's never rebuilt in his career, although this year it's been different, especially after the deadline. But I don't think a Mike Trout trade is realistic. I don't think it's likely. I think it's something that's going to be talked about in the rumor mill for sure. But I think he's going to be in Anaheim next year.
We know he'll be in Philadelphia or South Jersey someday. I guess it's just a matter of whether he's 44 and retired or it's next year. But it probably is going to be post-retirement.
Yeah, I would either that or he's just going to be in Philadelphia for the Eagles games. And yeah, I think, yeah, I don't foresee him ending up anywhere other than Anaheim next year. Although maybe he's at the Thursday game for Philly. I don't know what their schedule is. I don't know if they have an off day that day, so who knows? But yeah, Trout's. I just don't see a trade happening there.
No, my leading theory of why he and the Angels never make it to the playoffs or succeed in October is because he wants to free up his schedule for the Eagles games, and it's just like it's a form of personal leadership. It's like I'm not gonna I don't believe in this team. I'm not going to lead him to the playoffs. I got to watch the Birds. So he just does.
No, exactly. I'll tell you, I'd want to watch the Birds too. Like, frick. I mean, well, it's not Sunday. That was rough. I was on top of the world when they were up 16-0, and then all of a sudden, this is not an Eagles podcast. This is a baseball podcast. I got to remember that. But man, I'll tell you, football season is back when you're just extremely disappointed after a win. It's incredible. Go Birds. Okay, I got to stop talking football.
Well, you had to sweat it out yesterday. It got dicey. Talking about somebody who's made me sweat it out many, many times over the past 6 years of baseball. Houston Astros icon, 8-time All-Star Jose Altuve spoke to us courtesy of Two Hoots Hard Tea, a product that I now, if it's got the Jose Altuve seal of approval, I probably have to go ahead and try it. I don't have a hard tea brand personally, so I'm a free agent there. Jose Altuve talks to us a little bit about free agency and the best moments of his career and its highlights so far and still to come. So please, everybody, enjoy Astros icon Jose Altuve, and we'll be here after the interview to keep taking questions and address a couple more topics like the depressing Jasson Dominguez news. Are here on the Baseball Insiders. I'm Adam Weiner, alongside Fansided's MLB insider Robert Murray, and we are joined today by extremely special guest Jose Altuve, 8-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, here on behalf of Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea, which is hitting shelves around Houston. Jose, first of all, thank you for joining us. I'd love to know more about your partnership with Two Hoots. Are you a big hard tea guy?
Yeah, I am. I am a big hard tea guy, and I try the product. I fell in love, with it, and I'm so excited to partner with Two Hoots.
You're hosting a T-Ball Classic. We hear. What else? What's going on with that? How excited are you for that event?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to go there and give some pointers, advice to the fans. They can also sign up and go and watch the game. So it's going to be a great meet and greet, and be starting the game off, and just go from there.
Well, Robert and I have plenty to ask you about your amazing career, but we might as well start with this past week because you just hit 4 home runs in a row in consecutive at-bats against Texas, 3 in one game, 4 in 4 straight innings. Between homers 3 and 4, did you know that you really had an opportunity to do something special, or were you just kind of so locked in?
I think I was locked in the game. We, as a team, we understood before going to Dallas that these games were really important for us. So, obviously it feels really good to hit homers many times in a row. But at the same time, you're, helping your team. So that's kind of like the priority out there. And, I feel happy about the way we play there.
So I got to ask, did you have any idea that a Verlander trade was like a possibility, or were you just like completely surprised?
Really small idea, and it was getting bigger and bigger, and until it really happens, and obviously he makes our team better. He's a great leader in the clubhouse, and as a team, we're really happy that he's with the Houston Astros now.
You guys are locked into a tough fight with the Mariners and Rangers down the stretch, although you just did a lot of damage in Dallas, like you said. What do you feel gives the Astros the edge in that race? And how do you sort of channel the momentum from a tough, close race into the playoffs? Do you feel like you have to get tested first in order to be playoff ready?
Maybe. I think we went to Dallas and we already felt the playoffs atmosphere. And, obviously the stadium was, sold out, and, the Rangers playing the way they've been playing all year. Then the fact that we know, like I said, that these games were really important, it gave us, some motivation, and definitely were like a playoff atmosphere for us.
Yeah. So at the end of the 2024 season, your contract is set to expire and you'd be a free agent. Have you had any conversations with the Astros about a new deal?
No, nothing.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly keep our eyes peeled on that, especially as you head towards the postseason yet again. Last week, you made some more Astros history. You hit for the first Astros cycle since Brandon Barnes back in 2013, an amazing name to hear for all the Immaculate Grid players out there. What did that honor mean to you? What did it mean to do it at Fenway Park, too, in front of all those fans with all that history?
I think obviously they're really hard to do. My friend Brandon Burns did it 10 years ago. So that's something that doesn't really happen too often. And I was happy to do it, especially because we won that game. And it seems like from now on, every game is huge and really important for us. And, I know a few years ago, I think 2016, I was close to make the cycle happen, and then I fell, and it was kind of like a mess. But I was really happy to actually do it this time.
Did you hear from Brandon Barnes at all after that happened?
Yes, he sent me a text, and he was happy.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so you had an injury in the World Baseball Classic that kind of like was a little bit of a speed bump for you, but you have returned as strong as ever. What allowed you to return so quickly and so effectively?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, I broke my thumb in the WBC. It was kind of like a little complicated surgery, but then I, get back to the team a little sooner than what, I was expecting. And, it took me some time still, even when I came back to the team, it took me some time to get in shape, my body ready. Obviously, my thumb was feeling good, but, since I missed so much time, it was kind of like a process to every day to do things to get better and stay in a good shape and feel 100% like I feel right now, thanks God. But yeah, it was a lot of hard work by the medical staff, by, the coaches, everybody really helping me to get to the point I am right now where I feel really good.
Yeah, wait, you said it was a complicated surgery. Complicated in like what way?
I think my thumb broke in 4 pieces, so it's kind of like, a little,
geez.
yeah.
That sounds painful. But like, I got to ask, would you play in the World Baseball Classic again, or did that kind of scare you a little bit?
I think it's too early to ask me that.
Okay, I had to ask.
And we accept your answer. Yeah, we get it. You do a lot of great WBC memories, though. You played with your fellow Venezuelan icon Miguel Cabrera back in 2017. He's currently enjoying his retirement tour. I'd love to know, what you've learned from him over the years. And, was he somebody who inspired you growing up? Because he's been, a World Series hero all the way back in 2003. Like, is that someone you looked up to and now you get to share that stage with them?
Yeah, no, definitely. Miguel Cabrera, he is, every single Venezuelan player hero. As a kid, we all look up to him. We grew up watching him play, and the fact that I got to the big leagues 13 years ago, and I called him for help to become a better hitter. And he was always there giving me, advices and telling me how to hit the ball and how was, better approach against whoever was throwing that night means a lot to me. We developed a great relationship, and we're still in touch a lot, and we just went there and play. And it happens that the last at bat that I, watched him hit ever, it was a homer. So, that was, of course you don't want any guy to hit a homer against your team and your pitcher, but now that it happens, it was a cool thing for me to see.
Well, he just left Yankee Stadium. He just played there for the final time. You love to play Yankee Stadium. And so I feel like I'd love to ask, when those fans, when they boo, when they get intense, it seems like you try even a little bit harder to destroy them and make them hurt. Is that something that you feel tangibly, or is an at-bat at Yankee Stadium just like any other at-bat for you?
Yeah, it's like any other bat. I go everywhere, even here in Houston, I do a lot of work before the game to be, ready for my first at-bat. And it doesn't matter where we would really go. It can be Boston, Kansas City, Detroit, the Yankees. We just, as a team, we get our motivation from inside the clubhouse, from each other, and we just go there and play the game.
So I got to ask, what's your favorite city to play in on the road, and like your favorite place to like interact with fans?
I like Boston a lot. Playing there, getting, they're so close to the on deck circle that you can talk to some kids, about whatever. And, I think New York's a great city to go out and have dinners. And, Arizona is a big ballpark and you see the ball good. So there is a few stadiums that I'd like to go and play.
So do you have a favorite fan interaction at all or no?
Yeah, I think when little kids goes and give you a fist bump, those are good.
Yeah, because I saw you also say that somebody offered you like his wife for a bat or something like that. Is that a thing?
You read a lot of crazy and good stuff, and understands, and guys trying to trade their shoes or hat for a bat. They do whatever for a bat. I will do the same thing. I was the same way. I used to like go to the ballparks back home in winter ball in Venezuela and ask player for a bat or for a ball or for a hat. I think those are good things to do.
No, for sure.
I'd rather have one of your bats than some random guy's shoes. So I think it's a good trade that you're keeping them. Now, you are obviously one of the best pure hitters of this generation that we have seen, but you are also one of the clutchest. And I think a lot of people will say like, hey, clutch isn't real. Good hitting is good hitting. But do you feel like clutch is a mindset? Or again, do you just feel like, hey, I'm a good hitter no matter what inning it is?
I think it just happens. You have to be in the grade, in the opportunity in the scenario to hit those big hits and big moments. But I think, anybody for me can do it if they go out there and they keep the same approach of just a normal game.
Yeah, and I'm curious for you. So you've been around some really good managers in your career, AJ Hinch and now Dusty Baker. What is it about Dusty's style that's kind of helped you guys like retain or still be as successful as you were even when you were with AJ Hinch?
They're different. They're both great. I learned a lot from both, from AJ and from Dusty. Obviously, Dusty's been in the game a little longer, so he'll be in the Hall of Fame, as soon as he decides to go home. I know everybody likes to win, but he's very into the game. He worries about you, and he just, of course, he wants you to go out there and do good as a team, but also he cares about you as a human being too. So he's very emotional about it, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to that, you said like they're both different. Like, what do you think the biggest differences are between the two?
Just personality. Just like just like you and I are different, they're different too, and the way they manage, I'll say it's pretty similar, but they have their unique stuff, and they're both great. I think AJ is a great manager, and he's gonna have a long career too, just like Dusty had it.
Now, you've been to so many playoff series and gone on so many World Series runs with this Astros team at this point. Do you have a favorite playoff or World Series run or a favorite moment? Or is it just when you climb the mountain at the end, you're like, hey, we got that ring?
Yeah, no, I think last year, Kyle Tucker getting the fly ball to win it all is my recently favorite moment. So winning our series is hard. We all know that. And the fact that we did it last year again was just amazing.
Yeah. And I'm curious for you, do you or any of your teammates have any like superstition traditions? I've heard of other players that have had some. I'm curious if you or any of your teammates do.
I think we all are a little bit superstitious, some more than others, but I think most of the baseball players have that on them. So like using the same bat or using the same clothes that you wore the day before, or playing the same songs, eating the same thing when you're playing good. So stuff like that.
Yeah, and another question for you is that you've been in Houston for a really, really long time. And I'm curious, like you were there for when it was not so good, and now you've been there when it's been really good. When exactly did you feel the tide start to turn and know that it could end up being like a really good team here?
Yeah, I think 2015 when we make our first playoff, when we got Carlos Correa, George Springer, Lance McCullers, and then you really, realize that, okay, this thing is becoming really good with all these good young guys coming from minor league.
Yeah, and could you have ever envisioned anything quite like this? Like, I mean, to this degree of success?
It's hard to think about it when 2011, 12, or 13 that would be this good as we are right now. But we all happy, and I think the team deserve what is happening because we've been putting a lot of effort every day to become the team we are right now.
It's hard to believe that your home stadium used to be the one with the giant hill in center field, and now now you're known for playoff success and glory. We can close on this, Jose. We appreciate you joining us so much. You're passing a lot of key numbers, so I feel like I have to talk baseball history. You're past 2,000 hits now. How often do you think about 3,000, that next step? Do you think about the Hall of Fame at all? Is that the way that you view your career now?
I think, Hall of Fame or 3,000 is, things that you think about when you're about to retire. And I still, want to play some more baseball. So I haven't really taken the time to think about it. So I'm going one game at a time, one hit, and see what happens.
Well, Jose, you are a stone cold killer at the plate. We can't wait to try a stone cold 2 hoots hard iced tea. We appreciate you dropping by. And I also just feel like I have to let you know that the day you won the World Series last year, your favorite memory, that was also my wedding day. So we shared that day. We both got a ring that day, and you're invited to the 1-year anniversary party.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, thanks so much, Jose. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. Jose Altuve, his favorite day was certainly one of my favorite days as well. Does not think that he's close to wrapping it up. But Robert, pretty importantly, has not had extension conversations in Houston and didn't dance around that either. Made it very clear he was just going to give us a nope. So I thought that was if any aggregators are listening, I recommend aggregating that.
Yeah, I recommend aggregating that too, and I'm going to have something going up on Fansided here in a little bit. But I thought it was interesting that he was so like stern about it, and especially the fact that there was like Dana Brown even said on the record, the Astros' general manager, that they were interested in doing an extension, that they had had conversations with him. He even said that on the record, and Altuve kind of refuted that. So I'm kind of interested to see where exactly it heads. And also Altuve's agent is Scott Boras, and we all know that he does not do extensions before free agency. But I would imagine that Altuve wants to stay in Houston and probably end his career in Houston as well.
Favorite road ballpark though, Fenway Park. So
yeah, I'm telling you, can you imagine that?
Yeah. It's. I mean, that's a scary fit. So, if we're talking making bets on Altuve's future, reminder that Bet365 is the official sponsor of this episode. The promo code is right there on the screen. Baseball in. If you want to get your questions in for our next guests, the Discord is the best way to go about it. We're there all day, every day. So if you don't want to ask in the live stream, come join the Discord, become a YouTube member, and find us there. And if we are talking about horrible outcomes for the New York Yankees, Altuve going to the Boston Red Sox, maybe that's number one. But losing hotshot rookie Jasson Dominguez to a torn UCL over the weekend with really no inciting incident is certainly up there on the list. Just sort of complained of some nagging elbow pain, scratched from Sunday's lineup, then, oh, whoops, it's actually a torn UCL. Now, he needs Tommy John surgery. Good news, and it's crazy that this is good news, but the good news is that they intend to do it. They're not going to rehab. He said, next step, getting the surgery, quickly getting back on the field. That would indicate we don't know if he's a freak like Bryce Harper, who got back and was hitting and on the field in 5 months. But 20-year-old getting the surgery is different from a 30-year-old getting it. Position player is different from a pitcher. It might be a little while before he's in center field again, but seeing some of these 9 and 10-month timelines, it does feel likely that he is batting and DHing in organized games sooner than that, you would think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the good news for the Yankees is, like, as you said, he's 20 years old. We're not talking about a player who's in his 30s or older. So he's gonna be able to bounce back, no problem. And I can't see this having any impact on him whatsoever throughout his entire career. And the good news for them, even in the short term, is like this year is kind of a lost year for the organization. They called him up, which was basically going to end up being like an early spring training or a late spring training, or however you want to look at it, and get him at bats in September, get him at bats in October, or not October, but yeah, it's like, this was just to get an early look at him. And he's going to end up being back early next year. He's only going to miss a limited amount of game action. So this is not going to have really any effect on him in the short term, or on the short term it is, but long term he's going to end up being perfectly fine. And I don't think the Yankees have anything to worry about there. And from what I gather, there's not very much organizational concern there either.
Yeah, look, they called him up so that you could see what he could do. You saw it. It was a pretty incredible 8-game cameo. It's a huge bummer, but technically, if you had to stomach this at some point, you'd want to do it in the middle of a lost season so that you can take care of him in the offseason. Yeah. You wish it was August maybe, but you're also thankful that he got those 8 games under his belt, equaled Mickey Mantle, hit some very memorable home runs, proved he could be a part of this franchise's fabric, and now he'll get this taken care of and should be returning fairly early into next season, sometime in the first half. It is insane, though, that this is now Gleyber Torres, Didi Gregorius, Aaron Hicks, and Jasson Dominguez as Yankees position player Tommy Johns since 2017. That's a weird pattern.
Yeah, because how many players have had, like, position players have had Tommy John surgeries or torn UCLs? It's, few and far between. Obviously we're going to have Ohtani, who's going to have a UCL surgery at some point. Bryce Harper. There's a limited amount of other players as well. And the fact that 3 of them have come from New York, I can't imagine it's anything that they're doing. I got to imagine it's coincidence, but at the same time, that's a pretty weird coincidence.
Yeah. It's what I would call probably nothing, but obviously too many of that.
Exactly.
Right before we wrap, Brian Cashman working on the offseason. It's going to be tough because you can't pencil Dominguez into opening day anymore. He's going to miss some time. You're going to have to get yourself a serious center fielder. He was in Japan this weekend. Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium. You thought maybe you'd see him, and no, he was actually in the behind home plate section of Yoshinobu Yamamoto's no-hitter. A Yahoo Sports article that came out afterwards indicated the Yankees plan to bid more than they bid for Masahiro Tanaka's services for Yamamoto. That doesn't mean all that much. You have to beat the market from 2014 if you want to have a chance. That does not mean he's going to the New York Yankees, but it does seem like Brian Cashman and company are not bluffing. What do you anticipate his market looks like this offseason?
It is going to be quite extensive, and that the contract it's going to, I would imagine it's going to be more than 9 figures, and it is going to be it's going to be a vast market, and there's going to be plenty of pitching needing teams that are going to be involved in this. And I will say that the fact that Cashman was there speaks volumes to the Yankees' interest, because if they were not interested, if they had limited interest, I don't think Cashman would have been there. And the fact that the general manager was there, I think, says a lot about what their offseason plans are. I also think it might say something about his job status going into the winter as well. And from what I've gathered and talking to some few folks that are overseas, Cashman is one of a few Yankees high-end evaluators that have been scouting Yamamoto. So I think they're doing extensive homework on him, and I think they're going to end up being one of the prime suitors for him in the offseason. And how high that contract eventually goes, I don't necessarily know, but it's going to be expensive. It's going to be very expensive. And I think a team that misses out on Shohei Ohtani could end up becoming quite aggressive here. That is I think that's something to watch.
I can't wait. Any bit of
Reason.
intrigue. Yeah, any bit of intrigue is good for me this offseason so I can forget about the Dominguez angle. It seems like Brian Cashman's not going anywhere, but Jose Altuve might be. Stay tuned this offseason and beyond. Keep tuning into the Baseball Insiders, where we will try to scoop these things so that you get them here first. We are live every Monday, every Thursday at 3:30 Eastern. I will be out this particular Thursday, but Robert Murray will be here live, breaking down scoops, crushing it, as always, doing it without me like I know he can. We should have something special for you cooked up. You can find us on the social media handles listed below on Twitter or in the Discord between episodes. Robert, this was a big one, and I think we understood the assignment.
Oh, we understood the assignment. We had Jose freaking Altuve on the podcast, my guy. We absolutely freaking love to see it. But great work by you, Hunter Armour, and Joanne for putting this all together. We appreciate you guys. Everybody who tuned in and watched us today, appreciate you. Go Birds. See you Thursday. Adam, I'll see you next week, Monday.
I will be back ready and refreshed. Thanks to Hunter, Joanne, the bookers, the editors, the producers, Sean, everyone who's ever interacted with us on this show. It's you that we do this for. We hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll have plenty more for you coming up for the rest of the season and into the off season and winter meetings. Eyeball emojis, certainly for me.
Me too. We'll have plenty of scoops coming this off season. I've laid the groundwork. It is going to be a very, very, very good off season.
Yeah, might be a wasted Yankee season. Certainly not a wasted off season for either of us. And I am getting a lot of life from thinking about what's on the horizon rather than what's currently happening. No thanks to the baseball on the field. Thanks to the upcoming offseason. We will see everybody. Robert will be here on Thursday, 3:30 Eastern. I'll be back next week. Until then, find us in the Discord. Goodbye, everybody. Y'all are the best.
Yes, you are. Thank you, everybody.